So why does Vladimir Putin have this problem moving freely on the world stage? Well, because Ukraine says 19,000 children were forcibly removed, and the Russian president stands accused of being behind their unlawful deportation. The International Criminal Court says that's a war crime and issued an international arrest warrant against him. While Ukraine's children endure the trauma of growing up in a war zone, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy has turned his focus to one of the war's most shocking casualties, the human rights of his country's children.
A Ukrainian policeman helps 3 orphans get ready to be evacuated. The children are being taken to stay with relatives after a shell exploded in their backyard, but many Ukrainian children have been forcibly taken to Russia instead. Kyiv estimates nearly 20,000 have been illegally deported. President Zelenskyy is on a mission to get them back. This newly opened Child Rights Protection Center in Kyiv is tasked with just that, as well as providing medical and psychological help to children who have become victims of crime or witnessed them during the war.
I see that this program has just started, and it started well. We've brought over 300 children back home to Ukraine, but we want to bring all of them back home.
The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Putin and Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lvova-Belova, accusing them of abducting Ukrainian children, a war crime. Russia says these are evacuations, not abductions. They claim to be protecting children by removing them from the conflict zone. But reports of children being held in Russian re-education camps or being moved around to different locations, making it harder for their families to find them, has led to accusations of genocide.
The main task is to return, document, and hold the Russian Federation accountable, as well as the criminals who actually continue to kill the future of our state, which is the future of our children.
Until then, authorities continue to work for their safe return and for a safe Ukraine for them to return to.
To get some more context on this, it's my pleasure to welcome Maria Avdiva. She's a security analyst at the European Expert Association and joins us tonight from Kyiv. Ms. Avdiva, good to see you. 20,000 children are reported to have been abducted. Is Russia using these kidnappings as a weapon of war?
Well, absolutely. And I myself was to Kherson, where one of these war crimes was happening. And there is an orphanage there from where 60 children were abducted, illegally deported to Russia. And Russia is not even trying to hide it. They were parading these deportations. And later on, these children were put into the Russian orphanages. And I just saw the video where we see Ukrainian children in the orphanage in Russia, and Russian military is meeting them and talking to them about denazification of Ukraine. And we have to know that many parents of these children were killed because of the war started by Russia. So this is not only the war crime, this is also inhuman and barbaric behavior of Russia using these children as a weapon in the war.
Mm-hmm. But many times the parents are actually still alive and the children are just being told that their parents gave them up. Isn't that also the case? But Russian officials have actually admitted to placing hundreds of Ukrainian children in Russian families and assigning them Russian nationality. That in and of itself is already a violation of international law. How does the Kremlin justify this?
Well, absolutely. What they do is they erase or try to erase the identity of Ukrainian children by doing this. And Russia says they're taking children out of the conflict zone. But if we look at the international law, according to all the conventions, international conventions, children have to be taken out of the conflict zone, but that they have to be returned back to their families as soon as it is possible, or return to their native country, which Russia doesn't do. On the contrary, they try as soon as possible to grant them Russian citizenship. They never ask the children if they are willing to do so. And in fact, Lyudmila Lvova-Belova, which was mentioned in your program, she herself took one of these Ukrainian children and calls him a Russian citizen now. So this is not just a case, one case or several cases. This is a massive deportation of children, which should be prosecuted according to the international law.
Yeah. Out of all the missing children that you're talking about, just about 370 have been reunited with their families. How are Ukrainian authorities going about finding them and safely bringing them home?
This is the huge problem to return these children back to Ukraine, because Russia, as I have said, is trying to give them Russian citizenship very soon. And then they say these are Russian citizens now, and they are not going to give them back to Ukraine. So this is going case by case. And Russia says that children have to be taken back to Ukraine by their parents, which in many cases cannot happen, because sometimes children have lost both of the parents. Sometimes their parents are in the military and just physically cannot go to Russia. Or there are any other situations when parents cannot physically go and take their children back. So Russia is trying to do everything to hold these children on Russian territory so that they will become citizens of Russia. And that is why the number is so low, and that is why so much effort is being taken into the programs that will allow to move to Ukraine more children and to save these children. That's the name of the one of the programs, Save Ukrainian Children.
Yeah. What international assistance is Ukraine getting in finding and saving these children?
Well, there is a special program and a special database where these children, it's a list of these children which were deported to Russia. But we have to understand that the situation is very difficult, because Russia was taking most of the orphans from the territories that were occupied. And so it's very difficult to say how many of the children were taken out and who are them, because Russia is not willing to share any information. So they try to hide any information available and do not let Ukrainian authorities know who are these children and where are they. So even if the family is looking for a kid, it's very difficult for them to find out where he or she is, especially if it's a younger age children who cannot communicate by themselves with their families.
Putin, the president himself, is wanted for war crimes in relation to these systematic abductions, as you describe them. How can this be traced back to him?
It's very symbolical that this is the accusation to him, not for any other crimes that Russia or he himself has committed, but specifically for this. Because Putin himself said, gave an order to fulfill this deportation of Ukrainian children. And there are numerous videos of him talking to Lvova-Belova and giving this order, and then also taking reports from her of how this deportation is happening. And there are specific rules and specific Geneva Convention which say how children on the occupied territories should be treated. And in no way they should be deported to the other country. This is the violation of international law. It is very clear, and there are other videos which show us, Russian videos, which show us how Russian military is taking Ukrainian children out of the orphanages and taking them to the territory of Russia. So we have a complete criminal case here. When one person, Vladimir Putin, gives the order, Russian military fulfills the order, and Ukrainian children are missing because they are on the territory of Russia, and Russia doesn't say where they are and in what condition.
Security analyst Maria Avdiva, thank you so much for those insights.